Welcome to the Electric Playground. Today on the show, we take cover with new Gears of War in the rundown.
Plus, we catch up with the cast of Game of Thrones Season 5.
And we have more from the Seven Kingdoms with the episodic Game of Thrones video game.
You need to show everyone who this house belongs to.
Also coming up, we have even more Game of Thrones gaming action, a review of the futuristic racer AG Drive, and much more today on EP Daily. Brought to you by EB Games. I'm your host, Victor Lucas, bringing you the latest on everything cool every single day. The Jacinto Plateau has been under siege for years, and the only thing that can save it is the rundown. Here we go. If you want to play the next Gears of War game, you'll need to invest in an Xbox One. Microsoft and developer Black Tusk have revealed that the new game in the Gears franchise will be exclusive to the Xbox One and won't be ported over to the Xbox 360. This shouldn't come as too big of a surprise. The new console has already been out for a year and a half, and there are fewer and fewer cross-generation titles. Players can bet that the new Gears game will make full use of the Xbox One's hardware, so it will look and sound better than ever. The first footage is expected to be shown off at E3 this June. In other Xbox One happenings, Microsoft has delayed another big exclusive, Quantum Break. It was expected to arrive before the end of the year, but it will now launch sometime in 2016. The Merc with the Mouth isn't going to have to watch his language in his movie. Ryan Reynolds has revealed that the Deadpool solo film will be rated R and won't have a watered-down PG-13 rating like most big action movies. This is already making fans happy, as the Deadpool comics are known for their combination of edgy humor and gritty violence. This means the film will be able to give audiences a similar tone. It also means that this will be the first one of the X-Men Universe films to be released in theaters with an R rating. It arrives in February 2016. Fox is also working on one last Wolverine solo movie, and I've got my fingers crossed that it will also have an R rating and give Logan all the grit he deserves. Here to help me talk about today's rundown topics is our own Merc with the Mouth, Marissa Roberto.
I don't know if I should be offended by that or not, but I'm going to take it.
Okay.
I'm going to take it because
Deadpool's
I do have...
cool.
Deadpool is cool, and I do have quite the mouth on me. So if there were to be a movie that I were to be in and just playing myself, it should be rated R.
So you would also be in an R-rated movie.
Yeah.
So you're excited then that Deadpool is in an R-rated movie?
Yeah.
It's appropriate for the character?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't think this is a character that children should be into.
No.
This is definitely an adult world where this guy likes to play, and the language that he chooses to use. He's just a very adult man with adult problems. Ryan Reynolds is meant to be Deadpool. He was meant to play that character.
He is obnoxious and goofy and funny, and he's built, and he's super heroic.
Exactly. This is time for Ryan Reynolds to have that surge again. This is going to be his big comeback.
I think so, and I think he doesn't want us to ever think about the Deadpool that was in the first Wolverine solo movie. But this brings up the question about Wolverine's next solo movie. If this does okay, should Wolverine also be R?
Well, yeah, Wolverine should be, but the thing is, so many kids love Wolverine, and I remember watching X-Men growing up, and it was just such a kids show because I watched it as a cartoon. So I don't know. It should be rated R because there should be swears, there should be bad things going down.
Well,
I mean,
he's stabbing people.
Yeah.
Should be R.
Okay,
we'll see if
Wolverine
that
should be R. No, Ruby's not going to any of these movies.
No, Ruby doesn't get to go to these things for a long, long time. All right, now Gears of War is an Xbox One exclusive. I know you're a huge super fan of the Xbox 360. Does it bum you out that you won't be able to play Gears on the 360?
Yes and no, because I have an Xbox One, so I'm okay with this because, you know, we're early adopters, of course, but there are so many people out there that have not adopted the Xbox One, and I understand from a business standpoint, for sure, putting it only on the Xbox One because, you know, you want to sell more of those consoles. But I do feel bad for the people that just want to hold on to the 360s because, honestly, that was an amazing console.
It was awesome, but I also think that it's time to move on. It surprised me that Destiny and Dragon Age were both on current generation systems and previous generation systems. It's time to move on to the new stuff. I love that Arkham Knight is only going to be on the new systems. I think that's fantastic. And to be frank, I feel like the Gears franchise on 360 ran its course. I was sort of needing a break. Now my excitement for more sort of Gears, you know, size and explosions and you know, that kind of gameplay. I'm excited for it again. I can't wait to see what Microsoft has got in store for us at E3.
Sure, I love that we're moving into the future now, and everyone needs to catch up with us. Everyone needs to get the new systems as well.
And the new Crackdown, I'm excited.
Okay, well, let's just keep to one game at a time, Victor Lucas. Listen, we've got to go to Westeros, though. You know new Game of Thrones is coming out, my friend. And Jose Sanchez, well, he got a closer look.
Arya, she ended the season 4, pretty high moment. Kind of high, kind of low, a little bit of sadness, a little bit of happiness, kind of. How is season 5 going to change Arya from what we've known for the last 4 seasons?
I think we see a turn in her attitude towards her future, in that she's kind of very happy to learn and to be swayed by other people who surround her, and to be a little sponge, really, rather than being so headstrong about what she wants to do and where she's going to go and who she's going to kill. I think this year she takes a lot of advice.
A lot of people have sat atop the Iron Throne. Hasn't worked out for them. Tommen Baratheon, you know, it's his time. Now is his time. Is season 5 going to be the coming of age for Tommen's character?
Yeah, you'll definitely see more of Tommen. I mean, that's the thing. Tommen is now king, and he's sort of in the limelight of all these enemies, which is a bad thing for me, because I don't want to die. So that's the scary thing about it.
The last time we saw Bronn, you were leaving Tyrion high and dry. Kind of brought a tear to my eye a little bit. Are you gonna?
I didn't enjoy it. I mean, it wasn't easy to play that. It was a big thing for him to do. But if he was going to stay being a mercenary, he would have stuck with Tyrion. So he got some big plans for his life. He's going up in the world, and he wants to get married and have his own coat of arms and live in a castle. He's got that castle, that very castle he wants. He can see a way to it.
None of them have survived the winter, not if they're north of the wall. Isn't their survival more important than your pride?
Pride.
Season 4 ended on a high note. Took over the Castle
for us. I mean, since we've got there, since we started on the show, things have not been going well. I've nearly bought the farm on a couple of occasions. But as you leave us at the end of season 4, unusually for this show, we're in a very positive position. I mean, we're starting out, we've got an army, we've got some money in the bank, we've got confidence is high. It looks to me like King's Landing is under threat from Team Stannis. That's a damn fine place to be.
It looks pretty good for us, so we have more confidence, and I think we're quite strong, but are we going to maintain that? I don't know.
You brought Ramsay in, finally, the end of season 4. You brought him in under your wing. What can we expect from Roose in season 5?
Well, you can expect solidifying our hold in the north, and trying to build up friendships with the northern lords, and trying to build some bridges, really. Even though, you know, it's great stabbing people and flaying people, but he's going to become a little bit more politic.
Ramsay is quite a character. I mean, he's done some pretty mean things. A lot of characters do a lot of mean things in Game of Thrones, but your guy, you really go above and beyond the call of mean. Are you going to get meaner? Do you see yourself getting any more vicious in this season?
Unfortunately, yes. He really does. But he's kind of trying to be a lord as much as he can. The real Ramsay will always shine through, as you'll find out.
Khaleesi kind of sent you off to do battle for her.
Exactly.
What can we expect with season 5? Are you going to finish the battles that she sent you out to do?
Yes. So you're right. She sent me off. Once I got close to her, which was great, she sent me away to fix the situation in Yunkai, and in the beginning of this year I'll be coming back from that mission, and I'll try to get as close as I was before I left.
What is it like getting to build this character in your own sort of style, give it your own little flair, and be the ultimate badass that you are?
It comes down to some really, really good writing by David Benioff and Dan Weiss. They've done all the hard work for you, and then when you walk on set with production values that are comparable to a Hollywood blockbuster, there's not a lot left to do. You just need to turn up and not forget your Valyrian.
Building Hodor's character, a lot of people know Hodor, can only really say Hodor, but what is it like, you know, taking that character and giving him a little bit of personality, even though he really can't say much?
I mean, it's a really different technique as an actor. You really have to sort of be the character. You know, there's no way to sort of rehearse how you're going to do stuff. I tend just to wait until I'm on set, see what the atmosphere is like, try and give it a bit of depth.
The job 3 years ago, when I auditioned for it, I had no idea what Game of Thrones was, because it hadn't aired in Europe at that time. And then when I got the part and realized how big the show was, and God, I mean, it was really exciting, of course.
If the day comes when you must find me again, just give that coin to any man from Bravos and say these words to him. Vala Morgulis.
Vala Morgulis. Jose was made to work the red carpet just in case Melissa Rivers needs help at the next Oscars.
I would love to see that. And season 5 of HBO's Game of Thrones begins this weekend, as if you needed to know that.
Right, we're checking in with Game of Thrones, the video game, after the break.
The boy's done nothing wrong. Not in the eyes of the Boltons.
Welcome back to EP Daily. If there were any company qualified enough to make a Game of Thrones video game, it would be Telltale Games.
That's because Telltale specializes in arguments and conversations, which are the two reasons I watch Game of Thrones, plus the sex and the violence.
Right, of course, there's that. So here's our own Mountain and Littlefinger with a review of episode 1.
Actually, I believe that's Ben and Jose.
Oh, right, I was confused.
Ben and I have traveled all the way to Westeros looking very dapper to discover Telltale Games' A Game of Thrones, Iron from Ice. Ben, this is episode 1. I know you're a huge fan of Game of Thrones. Are you a huge fan of the game?
I was excited to dive into this because Game of Thrones is all about diplomacy and dialogue and
deceiving.
It's all about how you navigate through a conversation, and Telltale is all about how you navigate through a conversation.
Yeah.
So it's a really nice match with the style. A lot better match, I think, than even Walking Dead or Wolf Among Us or Tales from the Borderlands, which all feel like they could have been action games or other kinds of games.
This game takes you all over the place, like the show does. So you start off as one character, you jump to another character, you jump to another character, you're like, all right, this is starting to feel like an episode of Game of Thrones, and it starts off, you're like outside the Red Wedding, before the Red Wedding happens, and like, oh, this is a little backstory that we didn't get to see in the show, which is kind of cool, you know?
Yeah.
No, you don't understand. We need to go.
Yeah, I like that it kind of functions as sort of a sidebar to the show, but that's also going to be a little bit of an issue for people who maybe aren't huge Game of Thrones fans, because it takes place in between seasons 3 and 4 of the show.
Which are the best seasons.
Yeah, they are, but that's also like pretty deep into it. So it's like, let's say you've watched 1 or 2 seasons, you can't just pick this game up because you're going to have plot spoilers everywhere. You're not going to know the political climate. You're not going to necessarily know all the major characters, and you have to know that stuff going in, much more so than The Walking Dead or Borderlands or any of their other games. You have to be informed before you play this game.
Well, I think if you were that excited about this game, you're definitely on board with the show. You're caught up. Everybody in the world likes it, right? There isn't anybody out there who hates the show.
I met this one guy who didn't like it, and I punched him in the face.
The boy's done nothing wrong. Not in the eyes of the Boltons.
You play as new characters. You play as House Forrester. Now, this is a house that was referenced in the novels very briefly in the last book, never touched on in the show, so it's new for basically everybody. We're touching all over it, got my fingers on it. You play as 3 different characters, and they're all sort of powerless. And so the entire time, like even from the very beginning, the first couple decisions, you're like, I'm screwed. I'm gonna get killed. Everything's gonna go to and that's really Game of Thrones.
It's exactly
and you definitely don't have any sort of power, at least, you know, at the beginning of this entire experience.
When you think you're starting to make the right decisions, you're making things happen, the S hits the F, my friend, and then you're just like, I just got Game of Thrones.
There are still, though, some issues here that I was a little frustrated with, and it all comes back to Telltale's engine and this same gameplay system that we've been dealing with since really 2012, the first Walking Dead game. It's almost exactly the same, and I was really let down by the fact that it still kind of hitched a little bit. It's not that polished and smooth.
This is obviously something that they've been working on for the last few years, but a little bit of an improvement would have been nice.
Maybe it's time for them to rebuild this engine a little bit or to step away from it. I think it was time to do that before Game of Thrones came out, but I think this is a good start. I like the multiple characters. I like the great sense of drama, and I like that.
You like getting thrown.
I did like getting thrown.
You like
Who doesn't like getting thrown?
I love it. I was like, oh!
I think it's time for us to score up Game of Thrones, Episode 1, Iron from Ice. Jose, what are you going to give it?
I'm giving it an 8.5. I can't wait to see how this plays out.
I'm only going to give it a 7 out of 10. That's 1 for each kingdom.
Very interesting, interesting.
Our coverage of Game of Thrones continues when you and I take a look at episodes 2 and 3.
After this meeting of the small council.
If you're that eager to die.
EP's mobile coverage is brought to you by Gameloft, makers of Dragon Mania Legends, which you can play for free right now.
In the year 2260, the invention of anti-gravity drive creates a new motorsport.
Been playing one of these anti-gravity racing games that I love so much. I keep looking for the best one on iOS, and I think I may have found it with AG Drive. Now, this is a game that you can play with touchscreen controls, which is really, really difficult because obviously you're dealing with floaty physics and crashing into the sides. Or you can use the preferred tilt functionality of your iPhone or your iPad. I do wish this had M5 controller support so I could use one of the controllers that I have, because this is an incredibly challenging game. Your vehicles move at super high speed. But what I have to say that really stands out about this title is that they've got that Wipeout F-Zero aesthetic down. They're also taking advantage of the horsepower of metal on the iPhone 6, so it looks absolutely stunning, and the speed is incredible. You got to check it out if you're as big a fan of Wipeout as I am. It's only a few bucks as well. Good design here. AG Drive gets an 8.5 out of 10.
Nice work, Victor. Very nice. Now, earlier in the show, our friends Littlefinger and the Mountain stopped by to review episode 1 of the Game of Thrones video game. And now Hodor and Marjorie Tyrell are here, I can't believe it, to review the subsequent episodes. Here they are.
Game of Thrones now, Game of Thrones now. I love talking Game of Thrones with you, Jones. Especially when it's in the form of a video game. This must mean you're really excited.
This is a strange combination, a strange teaming up of Telltale Games and the Game of Thrones world. They've come together to build an entire new Game of Thrones story that really has very little to do with what's going on in this series so far. And there are 3 episodes. Ben and Jose reviewed the first episode on the show. So far, we've also had 2 and 3. You and I are going to review those today.
Yes.
What's going on here? Because I can't really tell who these people are or why I should care.
Okay, well, I wish you would get into it a little bit more. I am loving this game because, of course, I love Game of Thrones. But what we're doing here is now following House Forrester and the characters and the children inside of House Forrester and how they play a role inside of Westeros as well.
We have White Hill soldiers stationed in our courtyard. Even the small folk don't feel safe. You need to show everyone who this house belongs to.
I love it. I love how they built this family in this new house that is actually living inside of this world that's already happening in Game of Thrones. So even in the first season, in the first episode, they were actually outside of the Red Wedding.
But that was in the first episode.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. So we're playing with this family.
From a different point of view of the Game of Thrones universe. I'm picking up what you're putting down there, and I'm interested, or I thought I was interested in seeing the Game of Thrones universe from a different perspective, maybe not the one that we're used to seeing from Tyrion's perspective, Cersei's perspective, you know, all these different characters that are huge staples on the show.
Great, but you're interacting with them in the game.
Sort of. I mean, there's something that happens in each of the first 3 episodes, but basically, you're making your own choices in all of the dialogue interactions. And I know this is the same as it was with The Walking Dead, but none of those choices really seem to change the core story here.
Well, I don't think it's supposed to change the core story really in any of these games.
I want to change the story.
I know, but you're still affecting a large chunk of the game.
If you're that eager to die,
get down.
All right, who dies first?
I can't pay attention, though, for some reason. And maybe I'm just easily distracted. It just feels like I have more important things to do in my life, like think about what might happen in Season 5, which is coming very, very soon. And, you know, I just feel like this doesn't matter. This is white noise in the background. And I thought that I cared so much for the world that George R.R. Martin created. And I guess I don't. I didn't really enjoy this game that much. I'm answering all the people. I don't care. I don't say anything. I say something. Lord Flatbottom will remember you for saying that. I don't care if Lord Flatbottom remembers me. It doesn't matter. I don't know why. I wish I cared more. I tried to care.
There's some fun to be had here. There are some moments, though, that disappoint me. Like some of the QuickTime events are not very fun to play through.
They're so boring. They also don't feel like, and I'm playing this on the iPhone. I'm not sure it's the right format to play it on.
Yeah.
But I never feel like I'm quite have the connectivity to the screen that I should, and when I'm doing the swipes and the touches and the QuickTime things, they're not kind of going my way. Maybe I'm not good at these kinds of games. I don't know. I'm okay with that.
You are, and you're right about that. The walking, particularly the walking, is very frustrating. I don't want to see that in any more of the episodes. It's just pointless to me. But other than that, I'm having a good time following the story. I love it. It's the storybook come to life, and I'm playing on my iPad.
What are you going to do for the score for these 2 and 3? And we'll revisit this again. Well, maybe not me, but you will at least for 6.
I'm liking episodes 2 and 3. There are some problems for sure, but I'm enjoying myself. It's getting an 8.
It's getting a 5 from me. Another moment where Hodor was right and Marjorie Tyrell was wrong. Up next, Brienne of Tarth joins us to answer the Twitter question of the day after this.
If you want more EP, go to our website, epn.tv, for bonus content and full episodes. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. Welcome back to the Electric Playground. It is time for the Twitter question of the day, and this one is from our pal Mark Victor Ferrer at Mark Vic Ferrer. asking, should Nintendo let more third parties develop games using their characters? A Zelda game with fight mechanics by Platinum Games? That's a pretty amazing suggestions there. I like that a lot, very much.
I like it. Sure, why not? If I can play with characters that I enjoy a lot in a game like that, I mean, I'll jump into it for sure. I like having a connection to my characters, and I connect with all of the characters in the Nintendo world.
Yeah, and Hyrule Warriors was surprisingly effective. I know that Ben and Jose really enjoyed that when they reviewed it, surprisingly so, because it's a Dynasty Warriors kind of spinoff. There is a Pokken tournament game coming from the Tekken team, which should be pretty rad. That'll be out in arcades this summer.
Puzzles and Dragons thing coming out, which should be really interesting, because that game is huge, and so to throw Mario in the mix with that is going to be really interesting.
I think we're going to start to see more sort of partnerships out there with these characters. I mean, a DNA partnership that they've got with mobile is probably going to lead to something pretty cool. And they already worked.
They're opening their doors and their windows.
And they worked with Platinum to bring us a Bayonetta 2, which is pretty cool.
Right.
So who knows what's going to happen with there. Hey, remember, you can get caught up on full episodes and a whole lot more on our website at epn.tv.
We've got more coming for you in an upcoming episode of EP Daily, including a look at more stuff from the Call of Duty Championship.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
EP would like to thank its sponsors, Nintendo, Xbox.
I think it's hard to beat just the impact that Kevin Spacey had as Jonathan Irons in the game. That was remarkable, right? And his performance, I mean, I'm sure you saw, like, he's one of the greatest living actors today. He anchored the game, and now, of course, that kind of sets the stage for a lot of people feeling good about getting involved and being excited, whether that's John Malkovich or others that are coming in the Zombies pack. You just look at it, and it's like, that is a A-class group of Hollywood talent coming to the biggest entertainment industry in video games with Call of Duty. How could you want for anything more?
Ideas don't determine who's right. Power determines who's right. And I have the power. So I'm right.